Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk about tech. I have very personal reasons for wanting to have this conversation with you, but I'll leave that out of it. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably know why. But this applies to any parent today, really any parent of a child of any age, K through 12 certainly, but if you still have a young adult living at home and you pay their phone bill or you pay for the Wi-Fi they use, I'm talking to you too, all right? You are still financially responsible for them as if they are a child. Okay, so I understand the law recognizes that people over the age of 18 are adults, but if they have not assumed adult responsibilities of rent and utilities and phone bills and car insurance and car payments and food costs and those sorts of things, they've got one foot solidly planted still in childhood. So they probably should be treated accordingly because the things they do with their tech can back up on you and your family, and the people they can expose you to through tech can, hurt you and your family. So just remember that. This is really any age. If you are financially responsible for technology in the hands of a young person. We are living in challenging times for all humans. Our communities are fragmented, and people who run the institutions that communicate information and culture to us en masse are profiting financially and politically from keeping us that way. It is in their best interest to divide us, keep us polarized, keep us in a sea of free-floating anxiety, and disconnected from the relationships that could offset that and protect us and ground us and help us feel like we can cope, we can get through it. And yes, relationships do that. We are social creatures. Despite the fact that I'm an individualist, I understand that. I understand that no human is an island. And while I don't think that means we should be compelled to take care of each other, I do think that human beings do best when they can form close bonds with other human beings to support their mutual best interest. It should be done rationally and by choice, voluntarily, because that's what supports freedom, but it's still a healthy thing. What we were before we were locked down 2 years ago was already a polarized society, disconnected from each other. Unless you had a strong church community or a local club that you belonged to, or a very large family that lived nearby, or a sea of friends with whom you agreed completely about all of these issues, you probably were already a person disconnected on a local level from in-person interactions with other humans, people you could turn to in times of stress. And I'm speaking to you as an adult. This was probably already the case. You may even have been somewhat disconnected from your own spouse because they were so busy working, either outside the home or inside the home, on their tech. And once you are working through tech, you are presumed to be available 24/7. You don't have the natural boundary of, I left my job at the job. People are sending you emails and text messages and all kinds of things. And unless you're disciplined enough to shut it all down, it's like, maybe I should check my phone before I go to bed. Maybe I should check my phone while I'm in the bathroom. Maybe I should check my phone the instant my eyes open when I wake up in the morning. Guilty. If you say you've never done this, I'm going to accuse you of lying. I'm sure there are a few people out there that don't do this, or who have jobs that don't require the use of tech. But when you have a job or an avocation that does, you probably lean into the tech because that's your livelihood. And increasingly, that's where your friends and support system exists. And the more you do that, doesn't matter how much of an excuse you have for it, the smaller and more disconnected your local in-person network of supports gets. Now, why is it so much better to have in-person connection? Well, for so many reasons. You can see the person's face and expression. You can hear their tone of voice, even speaking on the phone, which everyone jokes about not doing anymore because we text now to see if it's okay to make a phone call. Even doing that gives you more social cues. Gives you more information about what's going on with the other person, how they're feeling, how they're responding to you, how you are in their mind, and so forth. And you're just more connected, more data points of human connection than you will ever get from tech. Adding on to that, the data points you get from tech that you don't get from in person are incredibly misleading. You lean into certain kinds of rhetorical manipulation without even realizing it. Things like turning on or off your read receipts, wondering why someone has left you on read, as my kids put it, for so long. They've read your message, but they haven't responded. There could be 100 different good reasons why, but you might read into it more. Then you might start subconsciously using that to your advantage if you want to send a message to somebody without confronting them. So what happens? You become less practiced at direct confrontation, healthy confrontation, saying, I don't agree, or I have a different idea, or, well, let me share with you my perspective. When you have a pretty good idea, the other person isn't going to like what you have to say, whether they're a relative, a friend, or a child. And you're an adult, and so presumably before 2019, 2020 timeframe, you had a better sense of these skills than kids who are brand new on this planet. They haven't been around very long. Maybe they've been here 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, even 18 years. It's not very long relative to the age of parents and grandparents. Okay? So they haven't had as many years to practice the in-person variety, the healthy variety. Their brains may have been already programmed to, deal with lots and lots of pieces of information, which is what tech does. They may have already become fluent in the language of text manipulation of other people, and they don't have anything to go back to because this is what they know. When they went to school, and this goes back as young as, third grade, maybe, sometimes kindergarten, they were handed a one-to-one computing device like a Chromebook. And rather than using paper and pencils and so forth for most of their day, increasingly to the point where by middle school, that's all you're using, they're using technology even to access the lessons, to learn new information. And of course, within the technology, there are so many different ways to be distracted and do something different than what the teacher's asking you to do. It's not like you have an open book on your desk and the teacher can glance around the room and see what's going on. Sometimes teachers have to position themselves at the back of the room to see the screens. This sets up a very weird dynamic where the kid is just looking into a world in 2D and being disconnected from the world of 3D and the people in it. So that was already the case in school. Then we cut them off and tell them to spend more time in this. Now you're, literally that's the only way you can access your peers. And tell parents social media is good for them because this is the only way they can access their peers. And then there we are also working attached to screens. So they see that being modeled. They don't really see us interacting with people. So they don't see how humans are speaking to each other socially. They don't really see us resolving problems out loud in person. They don't see us having gatherings or anything, meeting new people, interacting with people. They walk around, they can only see this half of the face, which doesn't tell you much. If I can't see your smile, I have to look at your eyes. But see, we adults know that I'm smiling. Small kids don't. It's face blindness. They don't, not the literal kind, but it's a kind of like, I don't know how to read that. And the younger you are, the less you know. There's a whole language our children haven't learned about how to interact with other humans. It's not just learning loss in the academic sense, it's learning loss in the social sense. I don't know. And now add any kind of neuroatypical wiring. Anybody on the ASD spectrum. Anybody with sensory processing issues. Anybody who's shy. Just naturally shy. Disinclined to make eye contact or, open up to people. That's a skill to feel comfortable enough to just speak to new people. We've cut them off from that and said, here, go in here. Go in the little box. And parents have felt a mix of feelings. Less guilty about letting them do it more often because, well, they have no choice. They have to be in the computer to access school. I have no choice. And more guilty about the fact that the only way they can do these things is through tech. And wondering, what's the balance? What should I do? I've been there. I've suffered the consequences of things beyond my control. Even knowing that all of this is true, that we don't retain what we learn by reading it online, that you disconnect and you rewire things so you become almost artificially ADD when you spend too much time on tech. You forget your social skills if you ever had them, because if you're small, you never did, and so on. Even I, knowing that, have had my family begin to disintegrate and fall prey to the negative side effects of coping through tech. So I decided to come here today and talk to you parents and implore you, as hard as it may be, despite the fact that your children might still be somewhat cut off, you need to detox your children from technology any way you can. It is just not healthy for them to cope with technology. Simon Sinek did a great video where he talked about it being the equivalent of flinging open the liquor cabinet and saying, hey kid, you stressed? Have some vodka. Because of the dopamine reaction that is released. He said, you're feeling down, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling sad, you're feeling stressed. I don't know how to do this work for school. This work is boring, but I'm going to need to graduate high school. And am I going to go to college? What if I go to college and I borrow all that money and they lock it down and make me sit in my dorm room with a mask on and have to go to online school anyway, but now I'm paying $30,000 a year for it, or worse? What if this? What if that? These kids are literally still swimming in the same free-floating anxiety that you and I are swimming in, but they don't have the experience to deal with it. We are barely coping, many of us. Many of us are developing bad habits. Think of our children. We're gaining weight, we're not going to the gym, or we're hyper exercising, or we're overeating, or we're, spending too much time on Twitter late into the night with total strangers having conversations because we're just so desperate for some kind of connection and to have the world make sense. And we're adults. They are children. They need us. I knew this, and yet I thought I was doing okay. I thought I was doing okay to simply limit the tech to okay, at night when you go to sleep, I take the phone. I thought I was doing okay to say, well, you can have a little bit of access to social media because that's the only place you're able to talk to your friends, not because I don't let them go out, because in my state where I live, they can go out more now. The problem is they were shut down for so long, really up until a few months ago, they don't know how. They don't even know what their options are of where to go. And many of their options require adults to take them. And a lot of the parents are hypnotized in the cult of, oh my God, we don't know them. You cannot be in the same room with them. Can you go outside? No, it's 30 degrees outside now. Well, then I guess you can't get together. No parties, no dances, no nothing. Or you must go get it. You know what? It still cut people off. So I'm like, okay, I guess you can be on Snapchat, but only with your contacts and only with people I know. And parents, these kids are smart. Just like the alcoholic knows how to sneak around and hide the alcohol, and the drug addict knows how to hide the drugs or get around you to get them, the tech addict knows exactly, at very young ages, by the way, scary young ages, how to get around your limitations, your blocks, your screen time stuff, etc. You have to take a firmer hand. And I don't mean arbitrarily going, give me that. That's bad for you. Give me the booze. No. You need to sit down, and at whatever age they are, whatever's developmentally appropriate, you need to give them rules with reasons. And they will like it. They're still not going to like it. I'm not going to lie to you. They're not going to go, oh, okay, I completely understand your reasons. They are addicts. And you need to treat them as such. Just like probably you might be a little bit of an addict. I know I am. So, again, mea culpa. I've had to face my own demons here. But you need to do it. And what I can tell you is the good news is, just like they are such sponges for this toxicity, it also doesn't take as long as you think to wean them off it. It's a detox phase, depending how old they are and depending how much time they're on tech and using these kinds of things. It will determine how long they have to be off it. But you need to detox your children. You need to give them opportunities to be children in the outside world, to look around at nature and notice, wow, this is the reality. Reality is actually pretty amazing. I don't need artificial reality. Playing an actual board game is pretty dang fun. Playing cards, learning new card games. Teach your kid to play poker, gamble with candy. I don't care. I mean, it's better than them constantly in the video games and constantly in an alternate reality. It's escapism. It's a dopamine release, and you're teaching your children to cope using a controlled substance. Pretty much is. You wouldn't give them, coffee every day to wake up if they're 10. Why would you, say, here, you need a jolt of energy, here, play a video game, or here, you need a jolt of happiness, here's your reward. It shouldn't be a reward. They should learn about all the different choices they have with the perils of each, and give them something good to go to instead of tech. They need to come to you for stress, or someone else. If you don't have a strong trust bond right now with your children, find another adult that you trust, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, an older sibling, a close and trusted family friend. If you can find a therapist anymore who is not going to try to brainwash your child into the religion of woke, you know what I'm saying. They've got to turn to humans. The older they are, the more it needs to be a peer. So you might need to organize some things. Find some like-minded adults with some teenagers and just get them together as humans. Look online, find some dances, find some, get-togethers. Do something. Get them art supplies this Christmas. Take them to a bookstore. Let them choose an actual paper book to read. Read it together. Read in the round as a family, where you each take a page or a paragraph or a chapter. We've done that as a family and actually had a lot of fun doing it. And then I don't know why it kind of fell by the wayside. It just we all got busy and, dealing with things. And this is the thing now you need to deal with. Because the mental illness crisis we have right now is addiction. And it's not just to oxy or fentanyl or heroin. It's to dopamine through technology. And the longer you let your children dive into this addiction, the harder it's going to be to get them out. And if they're over 18, you may find it's impossible. And they may make decisions hopped up on dopamine that expose them or you to extreme danger. I'm sorry to put such a fine point on it, but that's the fact. And it could hit you absolutely out of the blue. It took us 4 days to detox my daughter and get her back to a place where she was not hypnotized and could be reasoned with. But I didn't sleep because I had to be the tech police. I had to lock down all the devices. I had to turn off the internet. I had to do things that made me feel sick to my stomach. So if you are avoiding small limitations because I don't want to be the overbearing helicopter parent and it's going to make it like the forbidden fruit, blah, 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 blah. Wait until the repercussions happen of you allowing them too much leeway. Now, only you know your children. I can't tell you what that limit will be, but I can tell you that it doesn't take much. Leaning into dopamine release and tech rather than people to get addicted to that as the coping mechanism. Set some ground rules, explain why, model them, and stick to them. That's what I have to share with you today. This is a very serious problem. If it continues and the kids are going to school, public school, they will be so pliable. It's like feeding them junk food and candy all day and their brain is fried on sugar. That's what cults do, by the way. That they're just suggestible. They'll go with, anybody tells them this is your coping strategy or here's where to go or this is the Discord or this is the online group where the people are, here's the tribe to belong to. They'll go. And they may be beyond your reach. And like I said, the older they get, the more they literally will be beyond your reach. Try going to the police and talking to them about trying to help you find your child, rescue your child, deal with your child who lives under your roof and you're still financially responsible for when they're 18. Too late then. Too late then. I wish we could change that law, to be perfectly honest with you. And when we have children who are, more than 50% our financial responsibility, like we're even insuring their cars, I think we need to have some new restrictions that say that's not legally an adult, because they could ruin your life too. So I hope you find this useful. I hope you'll give some thought to what I've said. As I said, I learned the hard way and I hope you don't have to. If you like this sort of content or you find it useful, I hope you will consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and join me in my locals community at thereasonwelearn.locals.com. Thank you for your support. Have a great day.